Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the universe changed forever. He sat in his chair on the bridge of the Terra's Hope, watching the stars through the main window. His ship was 3 months into a routine exploration mission at the edge of human space. Nothing exciting ever happened out here. Then the communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Clark, turned around with wide eyes. "Captain, you need to hear this. We're getting a transmission on all emergency frequencies." Jake set down his coffee cup. "Pirates again?" "No, sir. This is different. The signal is coming from deep space, and it's using translation protocols I've never seen before." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though they rarely encountered any. "Captain, my sensors are detecting massive energy signatures approaching our position. 5 separate ships, each one larger than anything in our databases." Jake felt his stomach drop. Humanity had been exploring space for 50 years, but they had only met a handful of alien species. Most were friendly traders or curious scientists. None of them traveled in ships this big. "Red alert," Jake ordered. "All hands to battle stations. Raise shields and charge weapons." The bridge lights dimmed to red as alarms sounded throughout the ship. Jake's crew of 60 scrambled to their positions. The Terra's Hope was a good ship, but she was built for exploration, not fighting. "Captain," Ben called out. "The transmission is coming through now. It's being translated automatically." A voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect English with no emotion at all. "Human vessel, this is the Galactic Apex Council. We request immediate audience with your command authority. We come in peace, but the matter is urgent beyond measure." Jake looked at his officers. Nobody had heard of the Galactic Apex Council before. "Put me through," he said. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration ship Terra's Hope. Identify yourselves and state your business." There was a pause. Then the voice returned, and Jake could swear he heard surprise in it. "You are the ranking human military officer in this sector?" "I am," Jake replied, though he wondered what they meant by ranking officer. His ship was alone out here. "Captain Morrison, we are representatives of 5 species. We govern much of this galaxy. We have never contacted humanity before because your species seemed insignificant. We apologize for this assumption. We require your assistance with a matter of galactic survival." Lisa Carter nearly dropped her datapad. Commander Rick Hayes, Jake's second-in-command, whistled low. Nobody spoke for several seconds. "Our assistance?" Jake finally managed. "I think you have the wrong species. Humans have been in space for 50 years. We've got maybe 100 ships total, and most of them are cargo haulers. You misunderstand, Captain. We do not need your ships or your weapons. We need your people. Specifically, we need human minds and human souls." The 5 alien ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel just outside the Terra's Hope. Jake's crew stared in shock at the massive vessels on their screens. Each ship was the size of a small city, covered in weapons that could destroy planets. "Permission to come aboard, Captain Morrison. We will transport 5 representatives to your ship. We assure you we mean no harm." Jake looked around his bridge. His officers were scared but ready to follow his orders. "Granted. Transport to Cargo Bay 2. My security team will meet you there." 20 minutes later, Jake walked into the cargo bay with Rick Hayes and 6 armed Marines. What he saw there would haunt his dreams for the rest of his life. The first alien looked like a giant insect, 8 feet tall with black armor covering its body. Its forearms ended in claws that could cut through steel. Jake knew from his training that this was a Kreth warrior. The Kreth Dominion was famous throughout the galaxy for destroying entire worlds when they were angry. The second alien was harder to look at. It seemed to be made of pure energy, shifting between different shapes every few seconds. Sometimes it looked human, sometimes like a star, sometimes like nothing at all. This was a void hunter, beings that lived in space and ate the light from suns. The third alien was 12 feet tall and covered in muscle. Its skin was gray like stone and its eyes glowed red. Every part of it was built for killing. This was one of the Titan clans. apex predators that had conquered hundreds of worlds with nothing but their bare hands. The fourth alien looked almost human, except for its completely white eyes and the way it never seemed to blink. Jake felt a pressure in his mind when he looked at it, like someone trying to read his thoughts. This was a member of the Psi Collective, telepaths who could control minds across entire star systems. The fifth alien was the strangest of all. It looked like a robot, but parts of it kept changing and shifting. Mechanical arms folded out of its body, then disappeared again. Lights flashed under its metal skin. This was part of the machine hegemon, artificial intelligences that turned living beings into machines. These 5 species were the most feared names in the galaxy. Stories of their power were told on every world, and now they stood in Jake's cargo bay, looking at him like he might be their salvation. The Kreth warrior spoke first, its voice like grinding metal. "Captain Morrison, we apologize for the dramatic arrival. Time is running short and we had to reach you quickly." "Reach us for what?" Rick Hayes asked, his hand resting on his weapon. The Void Hunter's energy form shifted into something almost human-shaped. "There is an ancient threat awakening in the galactic core. They are called the Devourers. They do not simply destroy civilizations, Captain. They consume the very idea of existence. When they finish with a species, it is as if that species never existed at all." Jake felt cold despite the warm air in the cargo bay. "What does this have to do with us?" The Titan clan member stepped forward, and Jake's Marines raised their weapons. The giant alien ignored them completely. "We have fought the Devourers with everything we possess. Our combined fleets number in the millions. Our weapons can crack planets in half. Our technologies can reshape reality itself." "And?" Jake prompted. "And we lost," the Psi Collective member said directly into Jake's mind, making him wince. "Not just defeated, erased. Entire fleets simply stopped existing. Weapons that had worked for millions of years suddenly had never been invented." The machine hegemon's robot body clicked and whirred as it spoke. "We have calculated every possible strategy. We have run simulations across countless probability matrices. In every scenario we fail. The Devourers cannot be stopped by conventional means." "Then how can we possibly help you?" Lisa Carter asked. She had followed Jake to the cargo bay and was recording everything. The 5 aliens looked at each other, then back at the humans. The Kreth warrior spoke again. "Because humans are impossible, Captain Morrison. Your species evolved in a region of space that should not exist. You develop technologies that should not work. You win battles that should not be winnable. Most importantly, you exist in a state of quantum uncertainty that makes you partially immune to the Devourer's reality consumption effect." Jake looked at his crew, then back at the aliens. "You're telling me that the 5 most powerful species in the galaxy want our help because we're weird?" "We are telling you, Captain, that you are our only hope. The Devourers are coming. In 6 months, they will reach inhabited space. In 2 years, they will consume the entire galaxy. Unless you help us, every living thing that has ever existed will be erased from reality itself." The cargo bay fell silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Jake Morrison, captain of a small exploration vessel, stared at the representatives of galactic civilization and realized that humanity's greatest test was just beginning. 3 days later, Lieutenant Sam Brooks sat in his laboratory staring at technology that should not exist. The aliens had given him pieces of Devourer ships to study, fragments that their combined sciences could not understand. Sam was just a junior officer with a degree in quantum physics, but somehow he was seeing patterns that the galaxy's greatest minds had missed. "This is impossible," he muttered, running his scanner over a piece of black metal that seemed to absorb light. "According to these readings, this material exists in negative space. It's there, but it's also not there." Dr. Amy Foster looked up from her own workstation across the lab. She had been studying the alien data for 3 straight days with almost no sleep. "What did you find, Sam?" "I think I know why humans can resist the Devourers," Sam said, his voice shaking with excitement and fear. "Amy, look at these quantum signature readings from our own ship." Amy walked over and studied Sam's screen. Her eyes grew wide. That can't be right. Run the scan again. Sam ran the scan 3 more times. The results were always the same. Amy, according to these readings, every human on this ship exists in multiple quantum states at the same time. We're not just here in this reality. We're also existing in thousands of slightly different versions of reality. That's scientifically impossible, Amy said, but her voice was uncertain. Is it? Sam pulled up another screen. Look at this data from Earth's solar system. The space around our homeworld is filled with quantum fluctuations that shouldn't exist. It's like reality itself is unstable there. Amy sat down heavily in a chair. You're saying humans evolved in broken space? Not broken. Different. Most species in the galaxy evolved in stable quantum environments. Reality was solid and predictable around their homeworlds. But Earth sits in a region where the laws of physics are flexible. We adapted to live in uncertainty. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came over the intercom. All senior staff to the conference room. Our alien guests want to explain something. 10 minutes later, Jake sat at the head of a table surrounded by his officers and the 5 alien representatives. The Kreth warrior had folded its forearms and was looking directly at Sam Brooks. Lieutenant Brooks, the warrior said in its grinding voice, your analysis of the Devourer fragments was correct. Humans do exist in quantum superposition. This is why we need your help. Dr. Lisa Carter leaned forward. What exactly does that mean for us? The Void Hunter's energy form shifted into the shape of a human brain. When other species make decisions, reality becomes fixed. If we choose to go left instead of right, the universe locks that choice into place. But humans are different. When you make choices, you exist in all possible outcomes simultaneously. Commander Rick Hayes frowned. That doesn't make sense. I can only be in one place at a time. The Psi Collective member spoke directly into everyone's minds. Your conscious mind experiences one reality, but your quantum signature spans multiple probability streams. What you call intuition is actually your ability to sense alternate versions of events. What you call luck is your unconscious ability to shift toward favorable outcomes. Sam Brooks felt his world shifting around him. Are you saying that every time a human has a gut feeling, they're actually seeing into other realities? Yes, the machine hegemon replied, its mechanical voice clicking. When humans refuse to give up against impossible odds, you are literally accessing versions of reality where success is possible. Other species cannot do this. When we face certain defeat, we are defeated. When humans face certain defeat, you find ways to win that should not exist. Amy Foster raised her hand like she was back in school. But why does this matter against the Devourers? The Titan clan member leaned forward, its massive frame making the chair creak. The Devourers consume fixed reality. They erase things that exist in only one quantum state. But they cannot consume something that exists in multiple states simultaneously. Human quantum instability makes your species partially invisible to their reality erasure effect. Jake Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. Partially? The Devourer's power grows stronger as they consume more reality, the Kreth warrior explained. Eventually, even quantum-shifted humans would be overwhelmed. But in the short term, humans can survive in areas where we cannot. You want us to fight these things? Rick Hayes asked. No, the Void Hunter replied. Fighting them directly would be suicide, even for humans. We want you to serve as anchors. Dr. Lisa Carter pulled up a holographic display showing the galactic core. What do you mean by anchors? The machine hegemon projected its own display, showing complex mathematical equations. Our species possess technologies that can manipulate reality itself. Planet-killing weapons, star-moving engines, time dilation fields. But the Devourer's presence makes these technologies unstable. Reality becomes too fluid for our weapons to maintain cohesion. However, the Psi Collective member continued in their minds, if humans are present to stabilize local quantum fields, our technologies can function normally. Human quantum uncertainty creates pockets of stable instability, if that makes sense. Doesn't, Jake said honestly. Sam Brooks stood up and walked to the holographic display. Actually, Captain, I think it does. Imagine reality as a piece of cloth. The devourers stretch and tear the cloth until nothing remains. Most species exist as solid objects on the cloth. When it tears, they fall through and disappear. And humans? Amy Foster asked. Humans exist as flexible threads woven into the cloth itself. We bend and stretch with the fabric instead of breaking, and if we're spread throughout an area, we can hold the cloth together long enough for the aliens to use their weapons. The 5 alien representatives looked at each other in what might have been surprise. The Kreth warrior spoke first. Lieutenant, Brooks' explanation is remarkably accurate for someone with no training in multidimensional physics. This is insane, Rick Hayes said. You're asking us to hold reality together with our minds, while you fight monsters that erase existence itself. Yes, all 5 aliens said at the same time. Jake Morrison looked around the table at his crew. These were good people, explorers and scientists who had signed up to map distant stars and study alien plants. Now they were being asked to save the galaxy from something that could unmake the concept of existence. What happens if we say no? Jake asked quietly. The Titan clan members' red eyes dimmed. The Devourers reach inhabited space in 6 months. The first worlds will be consumed in 8 months. Within 2 years, every living thing in the galaxy will be erased from reality. It will be as if none of us ever existed at all. And if we say yes, many humans will die, the Void Hunter admitted. The process of maintaining quantum stability puts enormous strain on human nervous systems. Some of your people will be lost to probability cascade failures. Others will age rapidly, as they access older versions of themselves to maintain temporal coherence. Amy Foster's voice was barely a whisper. How many would we lose? Unknown, the machine hegemon replied. Possibly half of all humans who participate. But without human intervention, the survival rate for all galactic life is 0%. The conference room fell silent. Jake Morrison looked at each of his officers in turn. Sam Brooks was pale but determined. Amy Foster looked scared but resolute. Lisa Carter was taking notes like she was already planning the mission. Rick Hayes was angry, but Jake could see acceptance in his eyes. We need to contact Earth, Jake finally said. This decision is too big for one ship's crew. Time is limited, the Kreth warrior warned. The Devourers grow stronger each day. Every moment of delay reduces our chances of success. Jake stood up slowly. Then we better get started. Sam, Amy, I want you working with our guests to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Lisa, start compiling everything we know about human quantum abilities. Rick, send an emergency transmission to Earth Command. Tell them to prepare for the strangest conversation in human history. As his crew filed out of the conference room, Jake remained seated with the 5 alien representatives. The weight of the galaxy's survival pressed down on his shoulders like a physical force. There's something you're not telling us, Jake said to the aliens. What is it? The Psi Collective member's white eyes seemed to look right through him. The location where we must make our stand is the galactic core itself, Captain Morrison. It is a place where reality is already unstable, where the laws of physics break down completely. Even with human quantum anchoring, many of your people will not survive the journey to reach the Devourers. Jake nodded slowly. He had suspected as much. And if we don't go? Then everything ends, the Void Hunter replied. Every star, every world, every dream that has ever existed will be consumed by the dark. Jake Morrison closed his eyes and thought about Earth, about humanity's short but hopeful journey into the stars. When he opened them again, his decision was made. 2 months later, the largest fleet in galactic history entered the zone where reality began to break down. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra's Hope, watching through the main screen as space itself seemed to twist and bend around them. Stars flickered in and out of existence like candle flames in the wind. Captain, Lieutenant Ben Clark called from his station. I'm reading 70 human ships and over 3,000 alien vessels in our formation, but the numbers keep changing. What do you mean changing? Jake asked, though he was afraid he already knew. Sometimes my sensors show 80 human ships, sometimes 60. It's like reality can't decide how many of us are actually here. Dr. Amy Foster looked up from her science station, her face pale from exhaustion. For 2 months, she had been working with human volunteers to develop quantum stability techniques. Half of her test subjects had aged 10 years in the process. The other half had started flickering between different versions of themselves. Captain, we're approaching the outer edge of the galactic core. Quantum distortion is increasing rapidly. All human crew members should report to their stability stations now. Throughout the ship, men and women moved to specially built chambers, lined with quantum resonance generators. These machines helped focus human quantum abilities, but using them was like holding lightning in your bare hands. Many people came out of the chambers with white hair and lines on their faces that hadn't been there before. Pilot Tony Martinez sat in his fighter cockpit, part of a squadron of 200 human pilots flying escort for the massive alien ships. His hands shook as he checked his instruments. Through his cockpit window, he could see things that his brain refused to process properly. Space stations that existed and didn't exist at the same time. Planets that were there one second and had never been there the next. All fighters, this is Squadron Leader Martinez. He said into his radio. Stay close to your assigned capital, ships. Do not chase anything that looks wrong. Half the things we're seeing aren't really there. His wingman, Lieutenant Carol Davis, flew beside him in a ship that kept changing colors. Tony, my fighter keeps turning into different models. Sometimes it's a Mark 7, sometimes it's a Mark 9 that hasn't been built yet. That's the quantum distortion, Tony replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Just focus on flying. Don't think too hard about what your ship looks like. On the bridge of a massive Kreth Dominion battleship, Commander Rick Hayes worked alongside alien warriors who could destroy planets with their bare claws. He wore a special helmet that helped him maintain quantum focus, but it felt like having someone drive nails into his skull every few minutes. Human Hayes, the Kreth ship commander growled. Our weapon systems are stabilizing. Your presence allows our reality cleaver cannons to maintain cohesion. Rick nodded, sweat dripping from his forehead. How much further to the core? 6 hours at current speed. But time moves strangely here. It could be 6 minutes or 6 days. Engineer Kate Sullivan had the hardest job of all. She moved between ships in the fleet, installing quantum resonance generators and training alien crews to use them. Every generator needed a human operator to function, and there weren't enough humans to go around. Listen carefully, she told a group of Titan clan warriors on their massive battleship. These machines will let your weapons work properly, but they require a human to operate them. If the human operator passes out or dies, your weapons will stop working immediately. The 12-foot-tall aliens nodded grimly. They understood the cost of this mission better than most. As the fleet pushed deeper into the galactic core, reality became increasingly unstable. Entire ships would vanish for minutes at a time, then reappear as if nothing had happened. Communications became impossible as messages arrived before they were sent or reached their destinations years late. Dr. Lisa Carter monitored the biological effects on human crew members from her laboratory aboard the Terra's Hope. What she saw terrified her. Some humans were aging a day every hour. Others were getting younger, accessing child versions of themselves to maintain quantum stability. A few had started existing as multiple people simultaneously, carrying on conversations with alternate versions of themselves. Captain, she reported, to Jake over the intercom, we're losing people, not to death but to quantum displacement. 37 crew members across the fleet have become unstuck in time. They exist, but they're spread across so many realities that they can barely function. Jake closed his eyes. Every decision felt like it was crushing him. Can we help them? I don't know. We're in uncharted territory here. Human quantum abilities were never meant to be pushed this hard. Suddenly, alarms started sounding throughout the fleet. The Devourers had found them. Through the main screen, Jake saw things that made his eyes water just looking at them. The Devourers were impossible shapes that hurt to perceive directly. They moved through space like holes in reality itself, leaving trails of absolute nothingness behind them. Wherever they passed, stars didn't just die, they stopped having ever existed. All ships, battle stations, Jake ordered. Remember, We're not here to fight them directly. We're here to let our allies fight them. The first weapons fired from the alien ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The Void Hunters channeled the energy of entire stars through human-stabilized reality fields. The machine hegemon launched projectiles that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. The Psi Collective sent thoughts that could crack planets in half. All of it passed harmlessly through the Devourers. "It's not working," Rick Hayes reported from the Kreth battleship. "Our weapons are hitting them, but they're not taking damage. It's like they're immune to everything." Tony Martinez dove his fighter between massive Devourer constructs, ships that looked like they were built from crystallized emptiness. His weapons fired automatically, but the energy beams simply disappeared when they touched the enemy vessels. "All fighters fall back," he ordered. "Conventional weapons are useless. We need a new plan." On the Terra's Hope, Sam Brooks was studying sensor readings that made no sense. "Captain, I think I understand the problem. The Devourers don't just resist our attacks. They're consuming the very concept of the attacks. When we fire weapons at them, they erase the idea that the weapons were ever fired." "Then how do we hurt them?" Jake demanded. "We don't," Amy Foster said, her voice filled with sudden understanding. "We can't hurt them directly because they exist in anti-reality. But Captain, look at what's happening to the space around them." Jake studied the sensor displays. Wherever the Devourers moved, reality became completely unstable. Stars aged billions of years in seconds. Planets developed entire civilizations that lived and died in minutes. Time and space twisted into impossible shapes. "They're not destroying reality," Amy continued. "They're trying to stabilize it by consuming the chaos. But their method of stabilization is to erase everything that causes instability, which is all life in the galaxy." Kate Sullivan's voice came over the communication system from deep in the fleet. "Captain, I have an idea, but it's insane. What if we don't fight the Devourers? What if we communicate with them?" "How do you communicate with something that erases the concept of existence?" Rick Hayes asked. "Through quantum uncertainty," Kate replied. "Humans exist in multiple realities simultaneously. Maybe we can exist in both reality and anti-reality at the same time. Maybe we can be the bridge between existence and void." Jake Morrison looked around his bridge at his exhausted, terrified, but determined crew. Human beings were dying throughout the fleet, sacrificing their very existence to hold reality together. And now they were being asked to do something even more impossible, to exist in the space between existence and nothingness. "Kate, what exactly are you proposing?" "I'm proposing that we stop trying to destroy the Devourers and start trying to understand them. Someone needs to make direct contact. Someone needs to exist partially in their anti-reality state to communicate with them." "That would kill whoever tries it," Amy Foster warned. "Maybe," Kate admitted. "Or maybe they just become something new. Something that exists between reality and void." "Captain, we've already lost so many people to quantum displacement. If there's a chance this could work, don't we have to try?" Jake Morrison stared at the impossible shapes of the Devourers on his screen. Around the fleet, reality continued to collapse as the entities moved through space like cosmic antibodies, trying to cure a universe they saw as infected with the chaos of life. He thought about Earth, about humanity's dreams of exploring the stars. He thought about his crew who had followed him into hell itself. And he thought about every living thing in the galaxy, counting on humans to find a way to save them all. "Kate," he said quietly, "prepare your equipment. We're going to try talking to the void." Dr. Karen Bell stood in the modified laboratory aboard the Terra's Hope, staring at a machine that would either save the galaxy or destroy her completely. The quantum bridge device looked like a simple chair surrounded by spinning metal rings, but she knew it was the most dangerous piece of technology ever built. "Are you sure about this, Karen?" Captain Jake Morrison asked. "Once you activate that machine, there's no going back. You'll be existing partially in anti-reality. We don't know what that will do to you." Karen smiled, though her hands were shaking. "Captain, I've spent my whole career studying the impossible. This is just the biggest impossible thing I've ever tried." Around them, the battle continued to rage in the strangest way possible. The combined fleet fired weapons that the Devourers simply erased from existence. Entire ships disappeared when they got too close to the reality-consuming entities. But the human quantum anchors held, keeping pockets of stable space intact long enough for limited communication. Commander Steve Parker had taken over coordination of the fleet when several other officers became lost to quantum displacement. He stood on the bridge of a Psi Collective ship, his mind linked to alien telepaths who were trying to understand what the Devourers actually wanted. "All ships, maintain your positions," he ordered. "Dr. Bell is beginning her attempt at communication. If this works, we might not need to fight at all." Karen sat down in the quantum bridge chair and activated the machine. Immediately, pain shot through her body as the device began splitting her existence between reality and anti-reality. She could feel herself existing in two states at once, alive and not alive, real and unreal, something and nothing. "Karen, can you hear me?" Jake's voice seemed to come from very far away. "I can hear you, Captain," she replied, though her own voice sounded strange to her ears. "I'm also hearing something else. The Devourers are trying to communicate." Through the quantum bridge, Karen could perceive the Devourers as they truly were. They weren't monsters or invaders. They were something like cosmic doctors trying to heal what they saw as a sick universe. Reality around the galactic core had become unstable millions of years ago, and the Devourers had awakened to fix the problem. "They don't hate life," Karen reported, her voice becoming weaker as the quantum bridge pulled more of her existence into anti-reality. "They're trying to prevent reality from collapsing completely, but their solution is to erase everything that causes instability." "And what causes instability?" Amy Foster asked through the communicator. "Living things, consciousness, free will, everything that makes life worth living." Lieutenant Sam Brooks monitored Karen's vital signs from his station. What he saw made his blood run cold. Her body was aging and growing younger at the same time, existing in multiple states of life and death. "Captain, she's losing coherence. The quantum bridge is tearing her apart." "Karen, get out of there," Jake ordered. "Not yet," Karen replied, weakly. "I'm learning something important. The Devourers aren't from our reality at all. They're from a universe where everything is perfectly stable and orderly. They came here because our galaxy's reality is leaking into theirs, causing chaos in their perfect world." Through the quantum bridge, Karen could see the truth that had started the whole crisis. The galaxy's most advanced species, the Kreth, the Void Hunters, the Titans, the Psi Collective, and the Machine Hegemon, had been using reality manipulation technology for millions of years. Each time they bent the laws of physics to build their great weapons and impossible machines, they created small tears in the fabric of existence. "It's our fault," Karen whispered. "Not humans, the older species. They've been damaging reality for so long that it started to collapse. The Devourers are like the universe's immune system, trying to stop the infection." The Kreth warrior on Jake's bridge heard this and spoke with what might have been shame in its grinding voice. "Then we have doomed ourselves and all life with our arrogance." "Maybe not," Karen said, her form beginning to flicker like a bad hologram. "I think I can negotiate with them. They don't want to destroy life. They want to save their universe from ours. What if we can find another solution?" She pushed deeper into anti-reality, feeling her consciousness spread across impossible dimensions. The pain was beyond description, but she could feel the vast intelligence of the Devourers examining her thoughts. Communication came not in words, but in pure concepts that flooded her mind. The Devourers were ancient beyond measure, beings who had achieved perfect order in their universe eons ago. When reality leaks from the chaotic galaxy began affecting their realm, they had no choice but to act. "They're offering a bargain," Karen reported, her voice now barely a whisper. "They'll stop consuming our reality if we can find a way to seal the leaks between our universes." "How do we do that?" Jake asked desperately. "The same way we've been holding reality together during this battle. With human quantum uncertainty. Humans can exist in the spaces between realities. We can become living seals, preventing our universe from leaking into theirs." Dr. Lisa Carter understood immediately. "You're talking about permanent quantum displacement. Humans would have to give up normal existence to become bridges between universes. Some of us, Karen confirmed. Not all. Just enough to create a stable barrier. We'd exist partially in both realities, preventing the leaks while allowing both universes to survive. Tony Martinez, still flying his fighter through the impossible battle, heard the transmission and felt his heart sink. How many humans would this require? Thousands, Karen replied. Volunteers who would accept permanent quantum displacement to save both universes. They'd never be fully human again, but they'd never be fully gone either. The fleet fell silent, except for the sounds of battle. Every human in the combined forces understood what was being asked. Someone would have to sacrifice their normal existence to become eternal guardians between realities. I'll do it, Jake Morrison said quietly. Captain, no, Rick Hayes protested over the communicator. I'll do it too, Amy Foster added. And me, said Tony Martinez. All of us, Steve Parker concluded. Every human who volunteered for this mission knew we might not come home. This is just a different kind of not coming home. Within minutes, over 3,000 human volunteers had stepped forward. They would undergo permanent quantum displacement, becoming living barriers between universes. They would exist forever in the space between reality and anti-reality, holding both worlds together. The Devourers accepted the bargain. Karen Bell collapsed as the quantum bridge machine shut down, her body finally unable to maintain existence in two realities at once. But she had lived long enough to complete the negotiation that would save the galaxy. One by one, human volunteers entered specially modified quantum chambers. As they activated the machines, their bodies began to flicker and fade, becoming translucent like ghosts. They were still there, but also not there, existing in the impossible space between what is and what isn't. Jake Morrison was among the last to enter a chamber. He looked back at his remaining crew, at the alien representatives who had become unlikely allies at the stars that would continue to shine because of what humanity had chosen to do. Take care of each other, he said simply. And remember that sometimes the greatest victory comes from choosing to exist in the impossible places nobody else can go. As the machine activated, Jake felt his consciousness expand across multiple realities simultaneously. He could see the galaxy as it was and as it could be, the ordered universe of the Devourers and the chaotic beauty of organic life. He existed in both and neither, a living bridge between possibilities. The Devourers withdrew to their own reality, satisfied that the leaks had been sealed. The combined fleet began its journey home, carrying news of humanity's ultimate sacrifice. Earth would become the new galactic capital, not through conquest but through the recognition that humans had given up their normal existence to save all life. In the years that followed, the quantum-displaced humans became known as the Guardians. They existed in the spaces between realities, watching over both universes, ensuring that the barriers remained strong. Sometimes they could be seen as flickering figures at the edges of vision, reminders of the price paid for galactic peace. Children across the galaxy grew up hearing stories of the humans who chose to exist in the impossible places, who became something more and less than human to save everything that lived. And in the quiet moments between realities, the Guardians continued their eternal watch, proof that sometimes the greatest heroes are those who choose to exist in the spaces where others cannot follow. The galaxy was safe, and humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors or victims, but as the beings willing to exist in the impossible spaces that others feared to enter. In the end, that was the most human thing of all.